Hello and welcome to another episode of the Own Your Brand Show. I'm your girl, Victoria Odekomaya, and today we're talking with Angel Henry. She is the best-selling author of Dents in the Selling, and she's definitely a selling breaker because she's experienced the conversation that we've had today, and she has developed ways which she's going to share with us how to overcome those barriers. And we're talking today about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we as small business owners can incorporate those in our businesses from the very beginning, from the foundation, so that we are not spending time and energy and money trying to redo, trying to rewind, or trying to fix issues that has been caused by the lack of diversity in our business. Today's conversation is really impactful. Angel shares practical steps that we can implement to help our business be more diversified. So without much ado, let's get into it. Hi, Angel. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Good. Good to see you again. You look amazing as always.
Thank you.
Wow. So I know that you are a guru in the DEI space, and I really want us to get into that conversation today because I know there's a lot of conversations going on around there. Before we go into all of that, tell us about you, who you are. Give us just introduce yourself to us.
Okay, I'll try to keep it succinct because I wear so many hats, as your listeners probably do as well. So, wife, mother, entrepreneur. I made the what we call the exit ramp off from corporate for now. We'll see. Who knows what the future may bring.
Yeah.
But wearing all the hats now. So I've been in the Indianapolis area for, oh my goodness, a little over 20 years now, mostly in corporate, healthcare, pharma, all in IT as a IT project management manager running an IT PMO or an agile PMO. And it was through that work that I really started to dive deep into inclusion.
Mm.
Because when you're trying to bring a disparate amount of diverse people together, oftentimes, we're doing it virtually. So oftentimes multiple countries, different genders, multiple identities, and you're really throwing them into a virtual space or a room and say, go do a system implementation or to go do a major upgrade that's going to take 9 months.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get some communication issues, relationship issues, some conflict. And as the manager, I'm called upon to resolve that so we can get the work done. It was through that I realized being an empathetic listener, really understanding the person so that we can get through to get to the work. All of that is what led me to really finding that I had a heart for people
Mm.
and really wanting to encourage them and embrace them in their career journey. So that's where Angel Speaking was born. I knew that mostly women and those from underrepresented populations were the ones that were struggling the most in the
Mm.
workplace. And
Yeah.
so that's where I lent my time and attention to. And so now I have myself and three other coaches that are working with me to do this work in corporate, nonprofit, and government.
Wow, wow, that's incredible. Particularly like your background and how that formed, your desire and your interest in this work. So I know that it's important to have diversity, just as you've described, having to do projects with multiple people from all over the world and things like that, and then putting that online because obviously we're in a virtual situation now. But
Yeah.
what do you think is the one of the reasons why we really need to have diversity?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the best story that I have, it's kind of
Uh-huh.
a funny one, but it's a really good one. So a good friend of mine who I work with, her husband works at a local company here in the Indianapolis area
Mhm.
that makes faucets
Mm.
and sinks and shower heads and that sort of thing. I won't say the name of the company, but y'all probably know by now. um, so he wasn't on the team.
Mm.
He was actually, he came in the room early and was waiting for another meeting to start. He overheard the conversation from the marketing department and the design department about this great new shower head that they were coming up with, right? And it
Mm,
was going to be like a waterfall shower head where all the water just comes straight down on you. And so he's in the background and he chuckles and he goes, "That's not going to work for my wife. Like, you're not
mm,
going to be marketing to African Americans. I'll tell you that much."
mm.
They like turn and look and they're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Are you kidding me? Black women are not going to want no waterfall shower head." And I was sitting there like vigorously. I'm like, "That no,
Uh-huh.
I do not want that. That is not
Right.
something that I would buy." And
Hmm.
miss because whenever you're doing upgrades to the kitchen or the bathroom, it's women, the
Yes.
wives, that are
Yes.
typically the ones leading those home improvements.
Absolutely.
That's a huge miss for them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we absolutely having a diverse set of people sitting around the table to create and innovate and market.
Mm.
Otherwise, companies are absolutely going to be leaving money on the table without a doubt.
Yes, yes. I really love that story. So, as you know, I'm Nigerian. I'm originally from Nigeria. And I think that, one of the things that that resonated with me is being in the around the table with a lot of people from different backgrounds. And, I think it also forces us to be empathetic, to listen, because we have diverse experiences, and you never know what it is about our experiences that would trigger something, in the conversation and take it to a whole new level. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is
And
it.
and what I found, again, the pharma healthcare background
Uh-huh.
is that we're talking about shower heads, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, that's a ha ha, cute little miss. Sorry, that company may have missed out on thousands of dollars, not
Right.
marketing to the right people. Oh well. But when
Hmm.
it comes to healthcare
Yes.
and not having the right people at the table making decisions, where did
Mm.
the decision makers from everything from clinical trials to
Yes.
developing drugs to administering them to marketing to the right, but we're literally talking about people's lives here that are
Right.
at stake when you do
Yes.
not have a diverse group of professionals at the
Hmm.
table making decisions. People's
Wow.
lives could absolutely be impacted if we get that space wrong. So it is absolutely critical.
Yes, I love the way you put it. So one of the questions that I have for you was about how can we start including diversity from a earlier part of our journey as a business owner? Because we don't want to be reactive or, trying to do this after the facts. Like if you can, I know that we're in different stages of our businesses, but what are some of the things that you would recommend for a new business owner or like a growing business owner to really consider, in terms of diversity and inclusion?
Right. No, you bring up an excellent point. The reason why myself and many of my peers are even in practice, where we even exist, is because companies are, you know, some 100+ years old, right? Which means that quite transparently, they started with all white men,
Mm,
and that those processes got baked into the organization. So now, fast forward, we're trying to undo
mm,
unconscious bias. We're trying to break the habit of always going to Purdue or always going to Ball State or always going to IU to recruit our people. So we're
mm,
trying to break those habits and offer new tools and
mm,
new ways of working and operating. So yes, wouldn't it be phenomenal if we can get our hot little hands on new budding organizations, entrepreneurs, in terms of how they start? Okay, so
mm,
the mindset, and I know y'all because I'm there right now. The mindset when you start is, oh my goodness, I have to do this all myself, from the marketing to the sales to the finance and accounting, it's all on you. Okay.
mhm,
And my business coach immediately said, that's going to last for about a matter of, 3, 4 months,
mm.
six tops, like six tops. And that's if you're doing it full time before
Right.
you burn yourself out. Right.
Mm,
So you're going to need help.
mm,
So thinking about from the very beginning, how can I put a system in place to where I can
mm,
write down what I do? Social media marketing is a phenomenal example. Booking and accounting, anything that is kind of, you could put a manual to and hand off to somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to start. And so getting that one client, you think about, okay, how can I set aside funds to where I can now get up enough, maybe a 6-month cushion to, so you have a little bit of a runway to where I can hand this off to somebody else. That's your mindset going into it. Once
Mm.
you have that mindset and you're able to do that and you're at the point where you're ready to hand off to someone else, now is where you want to think diverse.
Mm.
Now is where you want to say, okay, my social media person, my accounting person, the person who I'm going to hand off, marketing or whatever to, I don't need them to look like me.
Mm.
I got to be purposeful and intentional about bringing. So for me, I'm African American female. I got to be purposeful and intentional about bringing in a male coach, which I
Mm.
did. I have to be purposeful and intentional about bringing in somebody that has a different background, a different lived experience than I do, so that when we go to sit down and create marketing and copy and social media, that I have a different perspective. It's not just my voice, so that I can reach multiple people. So I was very intentional about getting a VA that she's actually in Venezuela.
Mm.
And then I have another VA in California, and she, just by coincidence, she happens to be from Nigeria. So
Oh.
just coincidence, that just happened to happen, right? And so we were just on a call literally yesterday, and so
Mm.
she is able to bring hey, I know you're really talking about from the African American experience. Let's expand this, because there's a lot of immigrant women from Nigeria, from the Caribbean, from Mexico, from other countries that might not immediately resonate with your marketing and who you're targeting. So let's be intentional about calling that out.
That's
Right?
good. That's
Yes. Yes.
good.
So it is, and here's another great example. I happened to have a cohort last summer of all female directors. There were 6 female directors. We had a summer, 6-week summer intensive where we were doing a very intense coaching session. I purposefully brought in a male coach because he said, we need some testosterone energy in that room. And he was right, right? Like that was a whole lot of estrogen, right? And then
Right.
so he needed to, come in and color and add into and speak into, what they were doing and some of the challenge that they had with communication. He was
Mm.
able to bring in and say, hey, here's how we want to get more direct in our communication, because I realize you ladies are all having some indirect communication. You're softening and couching
Mm.
what you really want to say to each other, and that's not really work. So let me help you with direct communication. That was his
Right.
really wig. Great. I didn't even catch that. Right.
I really like that
Yeah.
example. Sorry. So
No,
one of the reasons why I like that is because we know that men are more direct and females are more, we try to tend to be more indirect. So like even from that perspective, so it's not even the race, it's not even the gender or any of that. It's just some of our innate abilities. So I have a question about that. For How does that apply to a business owner whose target audience are specific? So, for instance, my target audience are specifically women.
okay.
How do you? And maybe I was just thinking about it because you said to bring men and all the different. But like, what are some of the things that I can do? How does that apply to me in terms of like having a specific audience and trying to get diversity in there? Does that make sense?
It does. No, it does. It's perfect actually, because we automatically tend to categorize and group people and things. That's just what we do, right? So we categorize women business owners. But
Right.
women business owners are we can niche down, right? There could be there's women business owners that are still in corporate, or still have a 9 to 5, and they're
Hmm.
doing a side hustle, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's going to look different
Right.
than a woman who is 100% entrepreneur in business,
Right.
which is going to look different than an entrepreneur like me who has 2 kids who are little,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
my experience, and I'm in a mastermind with another group of entrepreneur women, and I was getting a little lonely, I gotta admit, because the other women were all women who were empty nesters. Their
Mm,
children were older and out of the house, or self-sufficient, 2 seconds away from graduating from high school or college. They
mm,
didn't have the same time management challenges that I do. I'm still running around trying to get to pick
yes.
up from summer camp, tutoring, track
Right.
practice, doctor's
Doctor.
appointment, all the
Mm-hmm.
things. And I'm like,
Yes.
I can't spend 4 hours of my day creating
Yes.
content and doing marketing. I gotta,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta figure this out. So my schedule is, do something in the morning, run around with the kids, cook dinner, and then I'm coming back to the computer
Mm,
literally 9, 10 o'clock at night, getting
yeah.
queued up for the next day. Whereas these women literally had all day, right,
Right.
to do that work. So luckily, through Tribe membership, I was able to find other entrepreneur moms who had little ones I
Mm-hmm.
could connect with and they could resonate.
Wow.
So just saying, just women business owners, we're so nuanced.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. I think that you really changed my mind in the sense that it's not just again the gender or the culture or like even within a subset, there's so many different things that are different that brings that inclusion or the diversity too. Wow. Okay, so I know you're doing a lot of work with bigger companies to help them all of
Break
that. Tell
some of
us.
that stuff that they that they were built upon. Yeah.
Right. So, what are some of the things that you find are missing that
Mm.
you're having to go back and, reshape or redo or reestablish?
Yes, thank you. A lot of shifting work.
Mm,
And so I tell organizations I really, really focus on the management layer.
mm,
So supervisors, all
yeah.
the way from the very first supervisor, first line supervisor that maybe only has 3 to 5 direct reports, all the way up to the EVP or SVP. So it's a big gap there, right? When we talk about supervisors, but
Mhm.
that relationship between the supervisor and the direct employee, that's where the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, they're going to live or die
Mm,
within that relationship. Because I don't care about what policies you have, I don't care about what training you can come and bring me in and keynote every Thursday from 12 to 1. It's not going to
mm,
make any difference
mm,
if you get all these tools and all this knowledge and you go back and you're talking with your direct supervisor and you're trying to figure out, how do I get to the next level, how do I get feedback, and they're flat, they're not doing anything because they
mm.
themselves haven't been trained, or they're not availing themselves to the change. Okay.
Right. Mm,
So I really focus on shifting the mindset from managers, from going from standard setting of goals, because that's what they
mm.
normally do. That's what we were taught.
That's true.
We were taught to just, hey, quarterly go in and set goals for your people or your department. Okay.
Right.
No, no, no. We're shifting from that to servant leadership.
Mm.
How do you partner with your people to co-create
Oh,
their goals and objectives on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly at the most
mm,
basis, right? How do we move from these emotionless 30-minute check-ins that you have
mm,
once a week with your supervisor, snooze, 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 where you're just talking about tasks? We need to move from emotionless to empathetic communication.
mm,
Okay. We need to shift from what I call brief, bare, and belated feedback
mm.
to true breaking the bias of their unconscious thoughts when
Right.
they go to provide when you finally do get some feedback. It tends to be through a lens of that supervisor that has expectations that are not quite realistic. We're missing
Yeah.
the mark here, right? So we have to break that. And then lastly, I really want to steer people away from what I call swaying or overseeing work, like tasks, uh,
Mm,
to true sponsorship, right? Like, let your people do the work. That's what you hired them for. I tend to work with knowledge workers, right? People who are in IT, or people who use their brain to create something, right?
Mhm.
Well, if that's the case, you're not, why are you managing the tasks?
Yeah.
They're not paying you six figures to manage their work.
Right. No
You're going
micromanaging.
to enable to bust out barriers, remove barriers from them so that they can do what you hired them to do. And
Right.
that is a mismatch. We still have quite a lot of senior leaders, which is scary and sad and quite frankly embarrassing that
Mm.
are managing people's work. I am a grown woman with more degrees than you and more certifications than you. I don't need you to manage my calendar.
Right.
I need you to cut some red tape,
Right.
get through the politics, and
Right.
help me get stuff done.
Yeah. Trust me that I can get the work done.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. And there right there is where we see the mismatch, where you see majority, and well, let's just face it, when we're talking about senior leaders, when we're talking about EVPs, VPs, SVPs, senior directors, they're typically white men. And
Hmm.
if they're managing women or people from underrepresented populations, there is a mistrust there
Mm.
because of the bias. We
Right.
got to get to the heart of that so that we can get to the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. I'm just thinking about, in my past experiences or with my manager and things like that. Like, I think the conversation would have been completely different in many scenarios if there was that trust, if it wasn't task oriented, or if our one to ones were more tailored to conversations that are really impactful, like about me.
Yes.
As opposed to we got to do one to ones, and then how's work doing? Like how like did you get this done and this and the other done?
Isn't
And
that
it's
so dry and boring?
yeah,
I mean, it gets to the point where you're like, what? The elementary, the ABCs of management. Can we move past that, please?
yes.
It's time.
Oh,
It's time. It's beyond time. Yeah.
that is, I really love. I think that I have a better and much more appreciation of the work that you do now in, think having this conversation because I think that, you know, we just kind of think that's what you're supposed to do, or we even expect it sometimes too, as
Yeah.
but then when we are having this conversation, either as a business owner, which I think you should start sooner than later, or even as a professional in your business or in your company, like you should we is there anything that we could do as professionals to encourage our supervisors to, because not every company has or are even including DEI in part of their training, but like what can I do as a professional having this, having knowledge of this conversation do to help my supervisor or upper management to, start changing or maybe even invite you to come speak or, how can we start that conversation?
Yes. Um, Two things. So one is if you are sitting in that direct employee seat and you're having that conversation with your direct supervisor, up level the conversation. Don't let them lead, you lead. So
Mm,
come with an agenda, come with your 3 points. If you only have 30 minutes, you're probably only going to be able to get through two, maybe 3 points if you're lucky. So come prepared to that session and you lead that conversation and start it off in an empathetic way by asking them, how are you? How was your weekend? How are things going with you? Whatever you know about them personally, whether they love to play golf or watch football or um, hang out with their children, they're getting ready for graduation, whatever personal little nugget you might have about them.
mhm,
Start there. Start the
mm,
conversation off with that. Invite them to do the same to you. If they don't take the cue and return it, then you offer up something personal to say,
mm,
"Oh, that's wonderful. Well, my weekend, no, I didn't get a chance to play golf. I actually had to help my father-in-law clean out the garage because he hurt his back, whatever." So say
love
so
that.
something connection, something that there can be an empathetic connection of person to person.
Right.
The goal is to move past the work and the task,
Yes.
having to connecting people,
Mm,
right? So and it has so many benefits. We don't even have time to go into that. But once you're seeing each other as people, as a person that's beyond the quote unquote work walls that have
yeah.
a family and a life and challenges and fears, death in the family, whatever, having
Mhm.
that connection absolutely reverberates into your work. But once you do that and establish a little bit of a connection, then move into your agenda. Hey, John, Bill, Sally, Susie, whatever. These are the three things that I want to talk about, and
Mm,
always end with how they can help you. So in order
mm,
for me to meet these three goals, in order for me to do what we just talked about over the last 25 minutes, I
yeah.
need your help with, and always end with what they can do to help you, whether it's provide you feedback, whether it's, hey, come to the meeting and listen in so you can give me feedback,
Mm,
whether it's, hey, can you talk to your peer about, you know, having that person from that department. I need more time from John, right?
mhm,
Over there, but I can't get to him because the supervisor has him tied up. Can you help me get more time with John to help me with this project? Whatever
mhm.
it is that you need help with, give them a task, right?
Mm,
I'm always so used to walking away
with
with,
a
here's
test.
my laundry list of tasks from every meeting. No, give
Right.
them some work, right, to help you, and it's all building up so that they can help you with your career, right, to
I
move
love that.
sponsorship. And
Wow.
so if you happen to be, wearing, if you're wearing the hat right now and you're watching this and you're wearing the corporate hat, and you're thinking like, oh my goodness, I need our managers to do exactly what Angel's talking about. I wonder if she could come in and do a workshop. Absolutely, absolutely. I have multiple workshops. I have a series called the Strategic Inclusive Manager Education Series. And so
Mhm.
it's a series that walks managers through the words, like actually give them a script of how to say
Wow.
to connect with their direct employees, the behaviors,
Wow.
follow up. We really wrap it around them so that they feel supported, because quite honestly, some folks are in that seat, and again,
Mhm.
taught they weren't taught this. It doesn't
Yeah.
come natural to some people,
Right.
especially if you're coming from research, healthcare, government, or tech. It,
Mhm.
those industries just kind of tend to lend themselves to people who are about the numbers or the data, and so they really
Yes.
don't have that practice of
Mhm.
human to human contact. And so when we ask them to step into that space, they are woefully unprepared and uncomfortable. So I create a place, a space where they can practice,
Mm.
so that they don't feel like, oh my goodness, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and end up tripping you're having a trip to HR because I was inappropriate with with one of my direct employees. We talk about that, right? We get very
Right.
clear because it's
Mm.
real. I mean, I had a VP at an organization that refused to go to lunch
Mm.
with his female direct reports,
Mm.
refused, because he thought that would be inappropriate. And we're
Wow.
like, even in a group setting, like, just refused.
Oh, wow.
But that was hurtful because
Mm.
female direct employees weren't getting the same inside as male
Oh,
employees that were going to lunch with him. Right?
yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, dude, either you don't go to lunch with anybody,
Mhm.
or you figure out a way of how you're going to get comfortable and go to lunch with everybody.
Right.
But you
That's, oh
can't
my
discriminate.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going on.
Wow. I really love how you break it down because that was my next question. Like, I love that you give practical tips, do action plans, so you're not, sometimes we can get caught up in training where, I know I was a manager too at one point, and we do the training, right, and it's a bunch
Yeah.
of words, and
Yeah.
it's like, and sometimes it's not applicable to real life, but I
Correct.
love that you give them the words, the actions, and scenarios, and that's, I think, is so helpful because sometimes, you know you when you hear all those things and you're being taught all these things, it's the application that moves the needle, and you don't you're I bet you probably do scenario practices too. I think you mentioned
Absolutely.
that.
Role
Yeah.
play,
Oh, that's
scenarios, absolutely.
that's
Tons of practice. Like, not just
amazing.
with myself and my coaches, but we create a cohort to where they can support each other, right? Because we're not
Yes.
going to always be there. Eventually 6 months later, we will transition out, we'll be gone. They're on their
Right.
own. And so
Mhm.
there will come a time, right, where they have a employee on their staff that they're having trouble connecting with, or they have to give constructive feedback to, and this person is not emotionally intelligent at all, and they're
Mm.
thinking, oh my goodness, how do I give this person feedback? They're not going to get it. I need to talk to somebody. Wouldn't it be great to talk with another manager or
Right.
supervisor who's gone through the training as well, who can
Yes.
help you craft, right? And
Yes.
yeah, and get through that situation, because there life will happen.
Yeah.
It'll always come up where, but we are essentially asking our supervisors to show up very, very differently in this day and age.
Ah.
Okay. So since George Floyd, it is like, yes, your African American people have been suffering, and
Mm.
now you managers have to do something about it. And they're like, what?
Right.
like all I know is how to show up and run a meeting and do
Ah.
the work, right? Because again, tech, government,
Mhm.
whatever, we tend to promote people who are really good at doing the thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a
Mhm.
great project manager, I'm going to get promoted to run a PMO because I'm really good at running projects. But,
Right.
oh, wait, now I have to develop, coach, mentor, train, and sponsor other project managers underneath me. That's a whole different skill set other than just
Yes,
running projects.
that's true.
We are asking them to show up completely different, and we have to give them the tools and the knowledge to do so.
Oh.
And so that's perfect for you as an entrepreneur, because those same exact skills apply
Mhm.
to you, because now you're the boss. And so
Yes.
when you bring in contractors, VAs, other people to support you,
Mhm.
you have to show up and support them and be inclusive and connect with them, because otherwise it's going to hurt your bottom line if you aren't.
Right. Wow. This is so good. This is so, so good. All right. So I know you talked a little bit about some of the programs that you have. I know you also have a mastermind coming up. Tell us, how can we take advantage of this, either as an entrepreneur or, corporate world, to like, how can we tell us a little bit about the program and where we can find information to connect with you?
Absolutely. Okay, great. Yes. So I am so excited to be offering the Strategic Advisory Mastermind. And
Mm.
it's essentially kind of a career clinic, right? So for women who have a specific issue, we're talking about high power, successful women, women like you and I, Victoria, who got all the degrees, all the certifications, experience out the wazoo. We are continually up leveling ourselves,
Mm.
but quite transparently, it's not moving the needle. We still
Mm.
aren't getting the promotion, we still aren't getting the feedback, we still aren't getting the visibility that we want,
Mm.
or need in order to advance our career. They're not everyone, this is not for everyone, right? Not
Mhm.
everyone has a goal or is seeking to advance, but for those women that are, for those
Mhm.
women that do wish to grow in their corporate or their 9 to 5